This is the Stockwell Roueche Show, giving you real-time information you need to make educated decisions about buying and selling in the world-renowned Twin Cities. Now your hosts and real estate experts, Jason Stockwell and Josh Roueche.
Buy a house, fix the house, sell the house, and walk away with $40,000. Too good to be true? Good morning, Minneapolis, St. Paul. You're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show, AM 1280 The Patriot, every Sunday at 10 a.m. Our show today is how to flip a house and make $40,000. Next week, we're getting into the political season, so we'll have two political shows after that. Hopefully, getting opposing views on how the elections affect the real estate market, or if they even do. And then the following week, we'll be doing the DREAM Act and how that is affecting the real estate market. Excited show today here. Jason Stockwell, RE/MAX Results, co-host.
Josh Roueche, RE/MAX Advantage Plus.
Josh Roueche, Jason Stockwell. And our guest today is Jeremy Rupp. What can I say about Jeremy Rupp? Investor, entrepreneur, professional, contractor, husband, father. What else can I add to that list, Jeremy? Anything else that I should add to the list?
Handsome,
okay.
Good looking.
All right, there we go.
I don't know.
Off to a good show already.
Jeremy Rupp is a investor in the Twin Cities here who has done dozens of projects in a very short period of time. In fact, I would say that he's probably one of the quickest people that I've seen come into the market and do so much in a short period of time and become so well known with large projects. You would think he'd been here forever and grew up here and knew everything about the Twin Cities. He has multi-million-dollar projects going on, rehabs going on, construction going on, and all over the Twin Cities and in Minneapolis. Very happy to have Jeremy on the show. And we also have Lisa Swanson here with Envoy Mortgage to do a mortgage update. And, of course, Casey Thrash here, who does work at RE/MAX Results as well.
She helps us out a lot on the show. So thank you, Casey, for being here again.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
So on the topic of how to flip a house and make $40,000, quick thought on that is if you're listening out there thinking, wow, that sounds too good to be true, or how do I do that, or I want to do that, or I'd like to get involved in that, we have the expert here, Jeremy, to be able to help with that. First, mortgage update. Lisa Swanson, Envoy Mortgage. What happened last week or this week, or what's happening?
Well, I just have a quick mortgage minute regarding some things that are happening in the economy as well as with interest rates. The U.S. added jobs for the 55th straight month. Unemployment dropped to 5.9%, the lowest since 2008. Weak wage growth prevented any rate pressure. Notes from the Fed indicate that they're watchful of the global economic weaknesses and will likely keep benchmark rates low for longer than was expected. After the market-friendly Fed report, rates reached new lows for the year. The latest from the CoreLogic evidence is continued price appreciation, while many markets have slowed. Others are hitting all-time highs. Per Fannie Mae's latest survey, 68% of the consumers say now is a good time to buy. Another note from Fannie Mae indicates 45% of respondents expect prices to rise in the next 12 months, while only 8% expect it to decline. And a little financial humor. For today.
Humor.
Yes.
Yeah, just a little joke. A man told his lawyer, "My neighbor owes me $500 and he won't pay up. What should I do?" "Do you have any proof he owes you money?" asked the lawyer. "Nope," replied the man. "Okay then, write him a letter asking him for $1,000 he owes you," said the lawyer. "But it's only $500, replied the man. "Precisely. That's why he will reply. And then you'll have your proof you need." I'm Lisa Swanson with Envoy Mortgage.
That's cool.
Hey, Lisa, quick question for you. I know rates have dropped in the last week. I've got agents right now saying in the last 3-4 days that rates are like the best they've been in a long time, like 3 point something. Mm-hmm. Now, what's happened in the last week for that to happen?
Well, just as I talked about, it's some of the weaknesses with the economy in Europe. That's really just I believe, made the market really volatile. And as we spoke about last week too, it's really weird it's hard to predict what's going on. But because of these European markets, I think that's really what's induced the low interest rates. And now it looks like rates are expected to be low for a longer period.
What are rates at right now? What are they at right now?
Well, without giving you specifics,
Right.
I mean, we're in the potentially low 3s, low 4s.
That's awesome.
On 15 years, we're really, really aggressive in the
Right.
lows and potentially even 2s. So
That's awesome.
yep.
I heard jumbo loans are potentially below the conventional.
Which is so
Isn't that crazy?
awesome. Yeah, jumbo loans are they're almost priced identical like a traditional conventional loan would be. If you ask me the reason for it, I'm not sure. But,
Right.
potentially just to enhance that market. And maybe in the jumbo category, there's been some, slow growth in that area. So they're probably just trying to pick that up and entice buyers to
Help
take
the economy.
advantage of,
Right.
some of those
Right.
those great properties just sitting there.
Cool. So thanks, Lisa Swanson, Envoy Mortgage. Appreciate the update on that. Bottom
Thank you
line,
very
what I'm
much.
hearing is good time to get a loan. If you have to get a loan or buy a house,
Absolutely.
it's a good time to do it. Great rates are great. And we're seeing increased inventory in the Twin Cities, so that's also a plus for buyers. Some statistics here that Real Trends put out over the whole nation is that September 14th shows that housing sales increased 5.6% from the same month a year ago. And housing prices rose an average of 6.5% from September 2013, a significant improvement over last month's increase over last year. And they're holding at single-digit growth this year. Still appreciation in the 5 to 6 range. Very good for housing. And locally, are we still seeing that, Josh? What are we coming in with locally?
Locally, we are seeing that. What's going on here? I actually have a list right here, and I kind of wanted to go over it real quick. Jason, what are your thoughts on the most expensive city to live in the Twin City Metro right now?
The most expensive city to
Yes.
live in the Twin Cities? Well, Jeremy, I would say...
Let's see, because I've got 5 right now on my list.
I would say Eden Prairie, Minnetonka, Edina.
You got 3. There's 3 of the 5.
Arden Hills.
Wayzata?
Wayzata.
Nope.
Maple Grove.
Maple Grove.
We've got Orono and Minnetrista.
Orono. I forgot about those.
Yeah.
Those are, yeah.
And then the least expensive cities right now, what we're seeing are in Austin, Albert Lee, Little Falls, Brooklyn Center, and Fergus Falls. The largest decrease in listing price in the last 3 months, we're seeing as Forest Lake, Golden Valley, Detroit Lakes, Big Lake, and Grand Marais.
Grand Marais.
Yeah, the Grand Marais.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Josh is from Minnesota, by the
I
way.
am from Minnesota. I'm trying. Yeah. For Casey, Casey's on the show. We talked about singles. I've got a stat here now for singles for Casey. This is kind of a Casey thing.
I'm really excited to hear this.
The 5 top cities for singles in the Twin City Metro, and this is good for you, Katie.
Let's see if I actually
Casey.
live in one of these cities.
This is Mankato. So, you didn't go to school down there, okay? We've got Minneapolis, Brooklyn Center, St. Paul, and St. Peter. And that's, top 5 cities in Minnesota for singles right now.
Mankato and St. Peter are right next to each other.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people probably
But
go to school
I'm just
down
trying
there
to
and
help you out,
stay
Casey,
there.
because I know we talked last week about your fear of commitment. And I think this
I
would
have a
be
huge
this is
fear of
good
commitment.
information
It's
for
true.
you. Right.
That's
Yeah.
shocking. St. Peter, I went to college down there. That's kind of funny that that's on there.
Exactly.
So, locally, though, the market is still up.
Yep.
Let's get some boots on the ground from not just numbers. Jeremy, what are you seeing out there? You have multiple projects going on, 10, 12, 15, 20 projects going on. You have obviously stuff for sale out there. What's the feedback? What type of showings? Are you getting full price? Are you getting multiple offers? I mean, what's going on the properties?
I wish.
We all wish.
No, it's actually a little bit soft. It's kind of, I don't know what you guys are all seeing, but it's a little bit strange, actually. It baffles my mind. The market stats we just went over would indicate to me that it would be on fire.
Right.
Multiple offers,
Right.
over asking, blah, 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 blah. That's not the case. We're seeing a lot of soft stuff. All the people that I've talked to are feeling that same general climate that buyers are picky. It's not in a certain price point, which I wish it kind of was. I just want answers. I'm a logic-based person, so I want things to make sense,
Right.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't make sense, I scratch my head and I don't have an answer, and then I just feel like a dummy. So So yeah, it's oddly soft.
So you're looking at these numbers. All it's saying is great. 50%, 52% of the country housing market is better off than it was 2 years ago. Prices are up, but so when you say soft, what's happening? Are the buyers lowballing the offers? Are they taking a lot longer to offer? What's going on?
There's a surprisingly low amount of showings. Number one.
Right.
Number two, there's not a sense of I have to submit an offer, and I don't know. It's just odd. So agents, you two guys are the cream of the crop for agents, but I feel like most agents don't understand how to sell a house to their client and how little risk it is to submit an offer. So we usually try to get involved and promote that to happen because they don't seem to quote unquote get it.
Because they're afraid to submit an offer that may not be exactly what the house is asking.
But little do they know, there's not very much risk in that.
No,
right?
yeah.
I mean, they can get out for a million
I think
reasons.
a lot of it too is everybody's been used to multiple offers coming in on all these different listings out there that they're scared to even put an offer in fear that they're going to be in a multiple offer situation.
So there's discouragement potential and that, yeah.
So if you're out there, you're looking for a house, you're considering buying a house, and you're afraid to put an offer, and you're thinking about putting an offer, and you don't want to offend someone, or you don't know, put the offer in.
Yes.
A lot of these houses are owned by investors. They know how to deal. Of course, they want to maximize their profit, but they will also know when to sell the house and what to sell the house for, and what their bottom line is, and you might be able to get some offer accepted under asking price, or get a somewhat deal on the property, being that they want to get rid of the house. They have other investments, other projects going on. Correct, Jeremy?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, the bottom line is that when you deal with a me versus a homeowner that has emotional attachment to their house, where you're going to get a straight answer. You're not going to get walk through the park answer. It's going to be, this is what it is, and I hope it works out greatly for you. And if it doesn't, then thank you very much for your offer. Next.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's very straightforward.
Business-like type of deal.
Which I feel like would be a breath of fresh air, but I'm on one side, not on both. So, you know what I mean? I don't know. So, the market's soft, and it's kind of weird because all the metrics that I look at, which obviously is a part of what I do.
Do you think that's because it's a national thing? People listen to it nationally and hearing what national media is talking about, and they really don't know what's happening in our local market versus a national?
I don't know, man. I feel like people here. So I lived in Denver before I came here, and I think people here, because the market was harmed more than it was in other metropolitan areas around the country, and I don't know why that exactly happened, but I do know that it was worse than where I was at. They're now more conservative. I feel like there was a rush, there was a fever to go take advantage of this thing because it turned, and now they're like,
we're going to get back to that topic too, about Denver, about here, the differences, the mind shift of the buyers, what's going on, what they're thinking. You're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show every Sunday, 10 a.m. here on AM 1280 The Patriot. Our special guest, Jeremy Rupp, local investor, who's doing a ton of stuff around here, and we'll be back with more insight from him. See you soon. You're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show here on AM 1280 The Patriot. Sundays, 10 a.m. We're with Jason Stockwell, Remax Results.
Josh Roueche, Remax Advantage Plus.
We're with Jeremy Rupp.
Hi.
Robert Dana Design as a special guest, expert investor in the Twin Cities. And when before we left on break there last, we talked about the mind shift of the buyers and what the buyers are doing or not doing here in the Twin Cities right now from an investor standpoint. So we'd like to go into a little bit more depth on that, and then also encourage you, if you're a buyer, to go ahead and you heard the mortgage rates, and you heard Jeremy talk about the negotiability of these. Sometimes you can go in and get an offer accepted on something you might not thought you would have gotten accepted, or negotiated out and get a better deal than you thought. So Jeremy, more on that. What you said, you came from Colorado.
Yeah, I'd like to hear a background.
Give us a little rundown of history, and then
okay,
how you got into the business.
4 and no. I went to college at Colorado State, got a construction management degree, worked for a national home builder for 2 years, built a lot of homes really fast. Wasn't my jam. Started doing this about 2 years after that, which is 2005. Okay. So I've been doing this since approximately 2005, 6, I don't remember the month.
Right before the crash, pretty much.
Yeah, so it was kind of like a great time if I would have been smart, but I was totally green, so it kind of wasn't a great time. Nonetheless, that's when I started. I moved here just short of 3 years ago. I saw kind of what the market's doing here right now. It was doing in Denver about that time.
They're similar markets. I hear that Denver and Minneapolis are just...
They are. Here it's a little bit behind there, about that 2 years. So it was softening up a bit. Little did I know that if I would have stayed, it absolutely went on fire. So if anyone's listening or you guys are curious here in the room about what happened there 2 years ago, it went berserk. Like when it got soft, people did what they're doing now. And then the following spring and summer, it just absolutely went crazy. So who knows? That could happen here next summer as well. But in that time, I came here, and that was that.
And then getting back to the buy a house or flip a house and make $40,000. People, if you're listening out there thinking, well, how does that happen? How do you do that? I'd like to get a couple of tips, ideas, maybe a couple of examples. Is this possible? I hear about it. I see it on infomercials at night. About it's no time I go to bed, but it's late sometimes.
That's when we talk at night.
So I
Those
see
are
these, and I'm like, these guys are schmucks. This is a bunch of BS. This can't happen. Can this really happen? Number one, in this market. If so, how does it happen? And what can you do to do that? Maybe even not 40,000. What if you just say, hey, I'd like to just get into it and make 10, 15,000? Is that possible as a secondary job if you're getting into the investment market green? And you learn a lot when you're green, come out with some bumps. But anyway, you get into some of the...
So I would say that it's very easy to be really bad at this, first off. That doesn't mean it's not attainable or any of that sort of stuff. What I always tell people, because I do some educational type stuff, is get a mentor, get someone who has some piece of the puzzle that you need, because even I don't have a full resume to do this totally by myself. I always partner, I always do whatever. So with that said, yeah, it's totally attainable to do this right now. We've bought one. What day is it today? Sunday. So we bought 2 this week, 2 next week, sold a big one a couple days ago that was well into over the millions. And I feel like they're out there. You have to have a certain eye now versus 2 years ago here in the metropolitan area, where it was kind of like shooting fish in a barrel versus right now.
Is it because of the competition? Everybody's out there trying to find that deal? Or
I think it's that, but I also think that it's because the lower end was totally gobbled up. Because for whatever reason, probably because that's the market that was hurt the most. So that was where the most opportunities were.
Yep.
And a lot of first-time home buyer programs and so on and so forth. So I feel like those buyers are kind of spoken for in mass amounts. So now the next pool of people that are ready are above, say, the 350,
right? Or
the
move up buyers,
move up or move across and get a better deal,
right?
And so that's the stuff we're looking at. Let's see.
I think right now there's a market for that because of the inventory now in the marketplace. There's very low inventory for those move up buyers right now.
There is,
and I think that's a great segment of talking about of what our inventory looks like and how you're taking advantage of that, or you're getting into that with what you're doing as far as your rehabs and stuff like that.
What I mostly saw people do when I first got here, again between 2 and 3 years ago, was buy really low, say 30 to 110,000, and sell for approximately double that, given whatever market that is. So sell from 60 to 80 up to 200 to 250. Now, and that honestly never really worked for us, just based on how we are. It doesn't fit our DNA maybe, just at a grassroots level. But now what we're doing is buying 150 to say 300 and more, and taking on those opportunities because that's the buyer pool that we feel is teed up and ready to be hungry.
So what I'm hearing is great information. So what I'm hearing is be selective, partner up, go into it with someone or get some coaching or figure out what to do if you're serious about it and want to do it. And now the question I have is, were you born with a silver spoon? Are you do you have a trust fund?
How are you financing?
How are you able to get the money to say you sold a multi-million-dollar or a $1 million+ house recently? You got other projects. Where is all this money coming from?
Well, let's backtrack. If my mom is listening, she can verify that silver spoon does not exist. Rusty,
wooden spoon,
no anything. Yeah. Yeah, no mom jokes. No mom jokes. So we get lending for everything. So
Is that just the standard type of just going
it's
to
called
get
hard money.
Okay.
So a lot of banks here so local banks will do a similar product to what I'm about to explain, and there's lower rates. But hard money lenders, Pine Financial, I use them a lot, and several other smaller local people. And basically they'll lend on, it's kind of a construction loan, basically, is how it's set up, but for an investor where the purchase is wrapped in and stuff like that.
Cool.
So yeah, it's actually kind of easy if you actually have experience and know who they are and know the right person to call.
So you're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show, Sundays 10 a.m. here on the Patriot. Today, how to flip a house to make $40,000. Our expert guest, Jeremy Rupp, local investor, talking about how to do that. Get partners, is what I'm hearing. Get some coaching. Be very selective when you go about it. And also the financing is the hard money financing. You mentioned Pine Financial as an option on that and other local banks to do that. So walk me through real quick just a scenario of, okay, I have no real experience in real estate. You have no real experience. You come in, you want to do this. What are you looking for? Are you looking for a bank?
Say I want to buy a house.
Yeah.
I want to flip it. I've never bought a house before.
Casey wants to do
What
this.
do I do?
Casey doesn't make enough money at her
Casey's
job.
case, she finds a boyfriend.
Casey's underpaid.
Call me.
She's Casey's underpaid at her job right now. She needs some extra revenue. She wants to buy a house and make some money at it. What would she do? Green.
And also take into consideration the fact that if a lot of people are doing this for the first time, they're going to have another job. So
Yes. Right.
what, how do they manage that if they're trying to do things on their own, or if they're hiring contractors, how do they oversee that if, they're at work all day and then they come home and nothing got done but the painters
So
were
who are they
supposed to be
looking
there?
for? Who are they looking for? Who can they call? Who can they try to do this right now? And would you said you do educational things, Jeremy? Would you be willing to help out some people? I mean, talk to us about some of this stuff and give us some rundown.
So, yeah. That is that's kind of a easy thing and a hard thing to answer depending on the you. So if you're single,
Yes, Casey single.
Casey.
that was a fun one.
Yep.
So if you're single and have a lot of time,
I am.
It's different than if you're a husband or wife with kids and you got soccer and the whole jam, right?
Well, I have a busy life. It's about
just-
me. It's not about other people.
Yep.
And
exactly.
there it is.
There we go.
On the air.
So
Perfect.
anyway, though I feel like telling those two different demographics, if you will, are two different answers.
Okay.
Not to mention what your background may or may not be. But honestly, I would
pretend I don't have a real estate background.
I would just say call a me. I honestly would. Like if I would
How do they
have,
find people like you?
I don't know. I mean, you can
Right.
Google me and my phone number's probably all over, even though I
Right.
don't necessarily want it to be. Or if I do, I don't
Or
know that it is.
contact one of us. Or,
If I
or an agent.
So if you're out there and you're wanting to get involved in this, would you be able to? I just say, hey, I'm gonna look up an investor, or Google investors, find some, call them, and then you'll actually help someone out, or you'll what?
Well, there's gurus, which you guys probably know, and maybe you do or don't know, Casey. But there's gurus that are national and local and whatever, and they sell stuff. Like that's what they don't do deals anymore. They sell products to help people do
Infomercials.
deals. Those are the infomercials.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the local people are probably the more like me,
Right.
and they would just help you do it and partner with you. So
But then they'd want to take some of my profit.
they would take a lot of it.
Exactly.
But you probably aren't going to lose any money, which if you do it by yourself, there's a much, much, much greater chance. Because the first words I said were it's really easy to be really bad. And that's true. So I would say, what's the saying? Pigs get fat, hogs go to slaughter.
Yep.
So learning is
Yep.
I learn stuff every single
Yep.
day, and I've
Yep.
done 130 of these things or
Right.
whatever it is. So
Yep. And
it is
you'll learn
crazy.
by doing that. So look up or contact investors if you're looking to do this or looking to
Yeah,
learn how to do this.
Yeah, if you're an investor, you're looking to do this, get a hold of our network and you can text us just type the word investor to 763-200-1101. Again, that's 763-200-1101, and we'll get you in touch with someone
Like
That can
Jeremy
help out,
or
like
Jeremy
Jeremy.
specifically.
Or Jeremy
for Jeremy
specifically.
specifically. Right.
And Jeremy has always got classes going on. There's always partner, like you said, partnering is a key thing too. Don't be pig that goes to slaughter because you want to make all the money on it. Learn from those on how to do it, and then they'll walk you through how to do it. Great information there. Is it fair to make $40,000 on a deal? When we come back, we're going to talk about that and the moral and implications of that, if that's what you want to get into. You're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show here on AM 1280 The Patriot with Jeremy Rupp every Sunday at 10 a.m. And we'll be back soon. We have Jeremy Rupp, local investor, expert here. You're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show here on AM 1280 The Patriot. Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
Josh Roueche, Remax Advantage Plus.
And we have Casey Thrash here as well. Before we left, the last segment we talked about how to do this and what the best things are to do. Some tips for you, partner. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone. If you're going to be doing this, you need help. Even if you're well experienced in this, you need experts. As you know, you need expert realtors, you need expert lending, you need expert contractors, you need expert people. If you are interested or have any questions for Jeremy Rupp directly, with his expertise, he's a very generous, giving man, and he's very open to share all knowledge. He has the philosophy of, hey, I'll give you everything and tell you guys everything what to do. And of course, he would like to partner with you on some stuff. He's just very open-minded, which is great to see because some people like to keep all the secrets to themselves. Text the word FLIP, F-L-I-P, FLIP to 720-334-4756. 720-334-4756. That's Jeremy Rupp. Text the word FLIP. Flip, bad word. Yeah. That's a very bad word, flip.
Hairs are standing up on my arm right now.
What is going on with when you say you flip a property that has a negative connotation? Someone's losing in that situation. You're making $40,000, Jeremy. Someone is losing. And someone say that's not moral, that's not correct, that's not just, because someone is losing in that situation. What can you tell us about that situation and how that may actually, the perception of that may not actually meet the reality? What's the risk to you? What's the benefits, all those things to the people that you're buying these houses from? And then we'll get into how we get these houses, the three scenarios of how to get them.
Okay, so honestly, even just 6 months to a year ago, I still had the perception that, because I don't want to take advantage of anyone, because I don't want to
you're not a bad person.
I'm just not a bad guy. So it's hard for me to reach out to these people still, because I don't want to take advantage of people. But the fact of the matter is, people reach out to us because they're in a divorce, because they are in an estate situation, because they're in a situation where they don't know what to do. And the burden, whether it's financial, time, stress, it could be a family conflict that would happen if they had to deal with the quote-unquote opportunity that I'm taking advantage of. It's just not in their wheelhouse. It could be time, it could be 1,000 things, honestly. And we don't force anything on anybody. It's
so
always
you're not going in there preying on vulnerable individuals, saying, "Here, take this deal now," right. and they're actually contacting you to help them out. Yep. So what's in it for them? Why would someone call you and say, hey, you know what, I'm looking to get rid of this house? Why wouldn't they just go and say, call a realtor and put it on the market?
That's a good... I don't know why they wouldn't call a realtor. In a lot of ways, I don't.
Right.
In some circumstances, it's a good option. And in that circumstance, it's only happened a couple times. We just tell them to call a realtor.
Okay.
Right. If the house is marketable now, there's not really any reason for me to be involved. It's when it needs value add. It needs something.
So you typically go in and improve the property. So you're putting your time, energy, effort, money into the property, not just buying the house for say $50,000 and then turning it around tomorrow and selling it for $150,000 or something like that.
Oh gosh, no. That would be fun, but that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always a point of distress, and my version of it is different than years and years and years and years. I for whatever reason can handle this. I don't know why. I'm a knucklehead. I should get out maybe some days, but I can't handle, I go to the hospital and I'm instantly stressed out. So everyone's a little bit different, and that's kind of what it boils down to, is that the situational thing that's going on is not something they want to be a part of.
So they'll contact you, say, can you help me out? Now explain that scenario. You built up enough reputation here to get contacted. Let's say you're starting out and you don't have that. Then they contact you, right, to help out, or people contact you to get started in this business?
So we have a website that we don't really spend a lot of time on, ConcordUniversal.com.
ConcordUniversal.com. Okay.
Yep. And it's not well marketed or anything, but like 3 times a month, someone will send us their online request to give them an offer. I just had one the other day. Ultra nice young lady. She is going through divorce, and what is happening in their divorce, she has to refi or sell or whatever. So she has no choice. So she was going to list it with a realtor, but knows that, that's anywhere from 5 to 7%, given on the situation. And on a $400,000 house, that's a lot of money.
Yep.
So she found us somehow, and that was that, really.
So if you're out there looking to sell your home or want to have an evaluation of it done, there's some factors that I know off the top of my head that are good, that create win-win-win situations for people when you have these scenarios. The house needs a lot of work, and you don't have the time or energy to put money into the property to do the work, so you want to sell it to someone who will do that. You have a divorce situation, unfortunately, or a death or an estate. You can also get these through bank-owned properties. You can also go to a private seller, and also the MLS. Even sometimes people get properties on MLS and do this with as well to actually flip or rehab the property. Flip has a negative connotation, but it's not actually meaning the word flip as in buy today, sell tomorrow. And it means buy, rehab, improve it, do something, put some value into it, and then resell it, and there's a profit at the end. And the homeowner could do that sometimes if they have the means. Sometimes they just don't want to, and that's the target. That's the niche kind of market that you go after, right? Or that you're a specialist in. As far as so it is not. So Jeremy's not a bad guy. He's not a shark. There's great information. So again, text the word FLIP, FILP, 720-334-4756. You listen to Jeremy Rupp, local expert here in the Twin Cities, on investing, contracting, you name it. And this is the Jason Stockwell, Josh Roueche show here on AM 1280 The Patriot.
There's something I kind of wanted to talk to a little bit is how do you actually make money on some of these flips, and in different ways that you can make money on investment properties. And I know one of them is playing the economic game. It's finding out buying low and selling high. And we've just experienced that in the last couple of years where prices did dip, and that's where people were making their money. But what are other ways you can make money on these investment properties when the market is at it? It's starting to climb, and you're not seeing that low inventory, that low price point where you can buy and then sell high. What do you do there? What do you see in there?
Well, I think the reason there's a huge magnet to real estate is that there's just thousands of ways to make money with it. I don't know a lot about all of the other ways.
Right.
Our end game is to create a large rental portfolio. Cash. That's ultimately
and making money through just the rental income.
Yep. So you have a couple things in your favor. A lot of things aren't in your favor, which is horrible calls in the middle of the night.
Right.
We talked about rental last week. That was a fun time.
It's nauseating. You just have to keep your focus on your kids in the future and all that sort of stuff. And hopefully not working. So that's one way is cash flow with rentals, whether it be a single family or an apartment building and so forth. There's crazy ways. It's ridiculous. Wholesaling is a really big thing for some people. It's not for us. Where the term flip in most people's minds is probably more along the lines of that, which is wholesaling, where you get a property, you find a subsequent buyer basically immediately, you only own the house for a day or two or whatever. Those margins are typically $5,000 to $20,000. It's a great way to make money without work and capital and a huge team and all that sort of stuff. It's not easy to do. None of this is easy to do.
None of these things are easy to do. You need training, or at least read up on it, study up on it. And the best training of all, I'm a huge proponent of always, is get out there and do it. Now, if there's a bump in the road, that's a learning curve. Don't make it a big enough bump that it stops the train and stops everything from going. You can learn from let's say you go out and buy a house today and you look at the numbers at it, Jeremy, and you're going to say, wow, this is what this is going to, there's no magic crystal ball either. So you're looking at it saying, wow, this is a great deal. We're going to buy this one. The owner's happy because we're getting cash and they're going to cash out. We're going to rehab it. Here's what we're going to put into it. And here's what we're going to sell it for. Is that always how it ends up? Right? No. Right? There's a lot of risk. There's a lot of things that can happen in between there. The projection, it's all projections and it's all estimates, and real estate is not easy thing to read. It can change at any time, and also the properties are each different. No one is the same, right?
And the construction is vastly just a can of worms. I mean, holy cow. We're doing a project in the Lake of the Isles area, and we're taking a 100-year-old house, and we did this last fall, which was a 10,000 square foot house, which was even more crazy. And we're just completely changing the entire thought of what this house is going to be. And our budget is probably going to increase by a third.
Oh, wow.
But it kind of needs to, because the neighborhood demands that.
Right.
So the point is that even though can be really good, each house is so individual in what the neighborhood, what it needs to be in that spot, and in higher price points that deems that to be different even more so. Or in lower price points, you just do kind of the same stuff. You have the same tile, you have the same countertop, you have the same cabinets, you have the same whatever. In these upper price points, you need to be more thought-driven with everything that you do.
A lot more planning. So it's the same thing as anything.
Yep.
The higher the value, a lot more planning, energy, effort goes into the front end.
Yep.
Like painting. If you're going to paint a house and you said, I'm going to spray it.
Yep.
But the prep work that goes in ahead of time, if you want to do it right, takes longer than the actual painting, right?
Yep.
So that's
Totally.
the planning on here is the hard money. We'll get back into hard money when we get back. You're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show here on AM 1280 The Patriot. Jeremy Rupp, the local investor guest, and great information for you out there. And we'll be back talking more about hard money and some other tips for you that you can do to get into the local real estate market. You're listening to Stockwell Roueche Show. Jason Stockwell, Remax Results.
Josh Roche, Remax Advantage Plus.
TalkTwinCitiesRealEstate.com. Special guest Jeremy Rupp, local investor. Flip. We're talking about flipping, how to flip a house and make $40,000. How to do that. Flip, Webster's definition, to buy and usually renovate real estate so as to quickly resell at a higher price. We already talked about the moral implications of this. We can create win-win situations. Of course, there's bad apples out there, but a lot of people do this for a profession and do it very well, honestly, legitimately, and they create win-win situations for the people that are selling the homes that they're buying. And quick tips for you out there: divorce, estates, bank-owned, private seller, MLS. These are all places that you can get these properties, and feel free to reach out to Jeremy. Text FLIP, FLIP, 720-334-4756. Colorado number, right, Jeremy?
Colorado number.
So Colorado's
Lazy.
great. The hard money, before we left, we were talking about hard money. Jeremy, what is hard money, and how does it work? Is this something where we're going to get worried about people coming after us, breaking our legs, cutting our pinkies off?
Yeah,
What's happening here?
Chicago, 1841. No, it's. I think it started because a bank, say Wells Fargo, they're going to lend on a property, and they have guidelines or underwriting rules, or what are they called?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
right.
there we go.
Good job.
So you find a house, you want to buy it. It's an investment, or let's say,
Basically, it doesn't fit
Beat
those
up a
parameters.
little bit.
and
is
beat
what
up a
you're
little
saying.
bit, and then you
Doesn't
go
fit
to
their underwriting.
Right, it doesn't fit their guidelines.
Now born is a lending world that lends to that.
Right.
Hard money lending.
So
So that's why it's kind of like a construction loan. It's the purchase price plus the fix up.
nice.
And then hopefully the investor doesn't have to invest too much.
Well, those typically have a higher interest rate, correct?
They have a much higher interest rate. Yeah,
So-
anywhere from say 10 to 18%.
So let's say I want to get it. Let's say you want to get into this and you want to do a deal.
Yep.
One, you got to get some training, reach out to people. But let's say you have no money to do it.
Okay.
Is it possible to do this with that
It's
scenario?
possible. It was way more possible a couple years ago.
Okay.
Now it's less and less possible because of those markets that I talked about that I feel like the opportunities they're just a higher price point. So there's more potential to have to use money or have it in reserves or something. But yeah, it's possible. It's totally possible.
So you go in, you find the property, and you have a bank that won't lend on it.
Yep.
Instead of scrapping the situation or the deal, you go in and contact a hard money lender. How does it work? Do they evaluate it? Do they just say, here you go,
Yeah.
here's the money?
Yep. It's very similar. So we find a property, 123 Main Street, send it to them. We send them a scope of work, which is the what we're going to do to the property and how much that's going to cost. How cabinets are $2,500, blah, 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 that whole deal. They send out an appraiser. That appraiser evaluates it, and that appraiser is a normal appraiser, but also can do what we call an after repair value appraisal.
So he evaluates the neighborhood.
So they can look at the scope of work and have some sort of a ability to ascertain if it's going to be comparable to what is comparable as a sold comp now.
Gotcha.
Develop an ARV appraisal, wham bam, the rest.
And then they finance it
based off what the findings are.
They do, and some lend at 70% of whatever that new value is in the future. Some at 65, some at 80, and they require down payments, and all of them have a different model as to how they do it.
So there's a whole slew of hybrids of different type of lending that you can do on this, and
totally.
Yep. And there's people out there that Jeremy knows, that we know, that can help finance situations. So if you have a situation where, one, you want to have a house you want to sell and get rid of, or two, you have a situation where you want to buy a house but you need some help along with that, go to talktwincitiesrealestate.com, text Jeremy.
Or you can text hard money to 763-201-1100. Again, sorry, that's the wrong number. 763-200-1101.
763-200-1101. Text hard money to that, and we'll help you out with that. Because there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I want people to be encouraged and know that I want you to know that you can do this. And if you want to do this, you can definitely make that happen. Anybody can do this. As we said earlier, all you need is, the main thing you need, in my opinion, is desire. The desire to want to do this, and the desire to want to get in the game and get involved in real estate. And as far as that, and then you get help from there. So if you have the desire, you'll do the things that you take to start putting a plan into action. Write down your goals. Write down your why. What's the reason? Why do you want to do this? What are you going to do? What's the money for, or the profit for? Is it fun? Is it enjoyable? Is it for a certain cause or something that you want to do? You're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show here on 1280 The Patriot. Jason Stockwell with RE/MAX Results.
Josh Roueche, RE/MAX Advantage Plus.
Jeremy Rupp is our guest here, local investor, and getting into a couple of scenarios of what you have going on right now. Jeremy, can we get into a couple of opportunities that you have right now for people maybe to go look at, or what a couple of projects you're doing?
I can outline maybe a couple of things that we just purchased.
Okay, sure. Cool.
That sounds good. I won't give addresses or anything like that, but for some reason we've been buying in St. Paul, which is kind of a new thing for us. The municipality there is a bit of a challenge to do the project, but for whatever reason. So 5 of them, I'm counting in my head here, I think 5 are in Mac Groveland. One's up closer to 94 off Lexington. I don't know the specific neighborhood, but nonetheless, they're usually in the low 200s, maybe high 100s purchase price, and they sell anywhere from the I'm trying to think right now, 400 is the lowest sale price, and about 550 is the highest sale price. And the projects are anywhere. One was $40,000, but another one is about $100,000
for the rehab.
It's a rehab, not a teardown.
So,
okay.
No teardowns over there. I'm a little bit scared to do a teardown over there, and I got yelled at by a neighbor to think about doing one, so I don't think I'm going to do that.
So good point.
Yelled at.
Hey, Jeremy brought up a great point. If you're looking to do this, what is a good tip? Do you stay, let's say you live in a certain city, do you stay in that city? Because St. Paul's a whole other animal as opposed to Minneapolis, as opposed to Edina, as opposed to Savage, as opposed to Blaine. What do you recommend for that, or what would be a good tip for someone just starting out?
I don't do this, but I think this would be smart, so I will call myself out immediately and say I'm not practicing what
I don't do this, but
finding a neighborhood and becoming an expert there, assuming that neighborhood has the capacity, it's large enough, and there's opportunities to be the boss there, is really smart. Mm-hmm. I don't do that, but I feel like that would be hindsight's 20/20 kind of a thing.
Right.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it really depends on your team. Like, I have a staff, and I couldn't just segregate or make myself be in this small bubble, so I can't really do that.
Right.
But reel back 5 years, and it was just me, and that was it. That'd have been really smart for me to do. So I think that there's a lot to be said for being an expert in a certain desirable area, and if that becomes less desirable, maybe the neighbor to that neighborhood is also desirable or changing.
Cool. So how to buy a house and how to flip a house and make $40,000. Team, you brought up a team. It's great to have a team of people. Lender, agent probably not as needed in there at some point, probably, because we're realtors and we want to be involved someone. And then I would say construction.
I'd say the GC is the hardest thing. Honestly, the general contracting, the construction in general That is the largest
I would
challenge,
say,
to
yep.
find honesty, to
Yep.
find someone who actually knows what they're talking about to create the value. Like, these are things that,
It's huge.
gosh, you could have an amazing carpenter, but that dude doesn't know squat about what's going to add value to a house, and vice versa. You have a dude that knows it, or a woman that knows an absolute ton about creating value, but they don't know anything about how to make it happen.
So through the economic recovery, jobs are back. People are working like crazy. There's a shortage, I read in the paper, of construction workers. That's
There
the
are.
biggest hurdle for people. And then timeliness, right? The biggest hurdle I'm seeing out there, people, is can you get these projects on time? No.
Nobody
I mean,
can.
hardly. You can't get
Nobody
them on time,
can.
right? I mean,
Nobody can.
You're projected 4 months, turns into 8 months. You're projected 6 months, turns into 9 months. I mean, it's just the reality of the way it is
Crazy.
out there.
Plus, we have weather that is
The weather is coming, right? In
weather is
Minnesota.
a real thing here.
Yep. it is.
Real quick, good time to buy in the winter. Do you recommend investors buying in the winter? Should you buy now?
We always do. It seems like whether it's good, bad, or otherwise, there's it naturally happens that
Well,
we're
life
unloading.
happens. Right.
It does.
Life happens and stuff. Divorce take place. I mean, everything happens.
And
So
what we had talked about
nothing
earlier
stops.
off air was that for some reason, a lot of the bigger institutions unload things towards the end of
Right.
the year, and
Yep.
that's
Yep.
we're the knuckleheads that buy that stuff.
The banks.
So yeah,
Great information. Thank you so much. Jeremy Rupp, local investor.
Thank you.
And you're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show. Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
Josh Roueche, Remax Advantage Plus.
Next week, political week, and the following week, political week. Do the elections really affect your real estate portfolio at all, or real estate in general? Hopefully, you'll have a couple great guests on. And thanks for joining us. Remember, love yourself and love others.
Go Vikings.